I want to move you on
Yes.
because I think you came to London. You were living in London somewhere, weren't
Yes,
you?
I came to London, and it was with that group, actually, with my brother and with a guitarist called Nick Miller. We came to London, and the only gig we actually had was on stage at the Walthamstow Granada between the films on Sundays. And they seemed more interested in me, the people, the agents and what have you. They weren't interested in Nick, and they weren't interested in my brother. So I was living in this flat with a gas ring in Highgate, and I had to send my brother and Nick back home to Kidderminster. I couldn't finance them, you know, really.
You'd heard of Joe Meek?
I'd heard of Joe Meek, and I was looking for Joe Meek, and evidently Joe Meek was falling out with an awful lot of people, because I would ring companies and ask for Joe Meek, and they'd say, "Don't mention that name here," and slam the phone down on me. And this happened more than once. And in the end, I found he was working for EMI, so I sent a letter to EMI, and they sent back my own letter, and just in the corner they put "Try 304 Holloway Road." So I did.
Which you did?
Yes.
And you came up to, I haven't asked you what you thought. When you first went to Holloway Road, what did you think of 304?
Well, I didn't really think anything because I
But
mean,
had you not been in, you'd been in some big, you've been in Abbey Road, did they not record?
Oh, God, yeah, we recorded Shaking All Over in,
Yeah. I mean,
just before this is pre-Beatles.
You must
just
have
in
expected
case.
something a little bit more salubrious.
No, I didn't even think about it, you know, to be honest, John. It was just a question of, you know, that I mean, I'd only gone there to be a support for Alan.
I see, yeah.
You know, the whole idea of doing anything there didn't really enter my head.
But you knew Meek had made Johnny Remember Me there? Or maybe...
Yeah, I didn't actually, no, because I mean, we're not long come back from Italy, so I didn't really know what was going on in England at that time.
Roger knew that about Johnny Remember Me, didn't
Because
he?
remember,
he had a bit of a name.
Our first keyboard player was Norman Hale. Before
yes.
Roger. Before
that was the Love
Roger,
and Fury.
John.
I think you said
That's
that was
right.
one of your favourite Tornadoes
Yeah.
tracks, didn't you?
That's right.
Love and Fury.
Just before Roger, we had the pleasure of Roger joining us.
Boogie Norman.
That's
Boogie
it.
Norman, yes, Boogie Norman. Still about.
So you went up to Joe's.
Joe sent me a telegram. I wrote to Joe, and he sent me a telegram, "When you receive this, come and see me." So I went to see him, did an audition for him. I was amazed at how grotty it was, the studio, and with the ceiling falling down in the corner,
Yeah.
and this piano with the pins on the hammers.
Tacks.
And of course, Joe, during the audition, he said, "Do you have any compositions, Roger?" And foolishly, I said yes, and I went into them, and I found that Joe nicked one of them, actually, of my compositions. And I had a cup of tea with him, and I got through the audition. I was walking on air, I was happy, you know, the great Joe Meek. And he said, "I want you to come tomorrow and meet the boys." So I came the next day.
Yeah, before you came back the next day.
Oh, yes. That very first day, now this is crazy, really. That very first day, as I was leaving Joe, I was just beginning to walk down the stairs, he said, "By the way, Roger, I don't ever want to see you in this studio again with grey hair."
Yeah.
And I was quite shocked, and I had to go to a little Jewish hairdressing shop in Stoke Newington Church Street with two little old ladies and bogey myself in the back of the shop and get my hair dyed black.
He actually wanted it black, did he?
Yeah.
Hmm.
But now
So
we know why, don't we, obviously, you know.
So
I thought he was in the blonde people.
Well, Hines was blonde. He didn't want anybody else
Oh, he
taking...
didn't want to clash.
He didn't want to clash. Oh, absolutely
So what colour did you have to dye yours then?
Me,
Clem?
it just dyed. I didn't dye it. I didn't... No
So
colour
anyway,
whatsoever.
you
Well,
came...
yes, I remember that first day with the boys. Clem was smoking Senior Service.
Correct.
I was smoking Peter Stuyvesant. And we had a jam session, you know. We just had to bang about, and evidently, much to your mistake, you thought I was all right, you know. He found out later.
No. I mean, you did the job at the time. That's what it was wanted. You know, I mean, God. I mean,
I know, because at that time, earlier on, it seems that Roger didn't have the blues or R&B feel about, but he has got it now. I've heard it, but in those days, and I think perhaps that might have been...
I've been all around the world. I've played all over the world.
In fairness, you know, like when we were eventually with Billy Fury, you know, as his backing group before we had the record of our own. I mean, we did an album with Billy at Decca, and Roger played all the sort of the stuff well. I mean,
and we did the 13-week Radio Luxembourg.
That's right, a series with him. You know, Roger played all the sort of rock and roll stuff, all right. You know. Oh yeah.
You were happy with that?
Well, a lot of those tracks, actually, we've just been in the hit parade with a lot of those tracks on that DVD.
Have we really?
Yes, that's right.
Oh, that's right.
On the 10th of March 2008, we were number 10 in a hit parade. And for 71 years old, that's not bad.
Not bad, not bad.
Right, I've got to take you back because we've actually skipped, we've jumped.
I know, yes.
We've jumped to this audition.
That, yeah.
You had this thing together. But in fact, before that, you were the Charles Blackwell Orchestra, weren't you?
Well, we weren't formed as a Charles Blackwell. We were formed as Joe's backing band for the thing. Like we eventually did Wildwind with John. We did stuff with
John Layton.
And stuff with bless his heart, Don Charles. We did quite a lot of stuff with Don
Andy
Charles.
Cavell, Alan Klein. Although Roger was on some of those. Some of those were later as well.
Yeah,
3 coins in a sewer
and all that. That's
and
right.
we were getting £7.10 for a session, which was
right.
a lot of money.
You actually got some money there.
Which was
which took a bit of doing to get it, but we've got it. But that was the thing, and then of course John Layton's record got in the charts with
Johnny Remember Me.
Johnny Remember Me, and they got a tour together with John and Billy Davis, who was big at the time. And I forget who else was on that tour. Can you remember? I can't remember. I know it was John and thing, and they got Charles Blackwell to be the musical director.
That's it.
And that's why we recorded the Charles Blackwell Orchestra
were
on that tour.
Were you on Son, This Is She?
Yes, I certainly
was.
Yes.
I like that one.
Yeah, we were. Yeah, we were on that.
Some good drumming on that one.
No, not really. I can't play it now.
Who was the drummer?
Anyway, it's Roger Vern, wasn't it?
Who am I? Why am I?
Anyway, we move on. You're backing Billy Fury. You do Love and Fury, because that was the Norman Hale days.
That's right.
Although Norman, it seems, didn't really hit it off, or was there some little problem there?
I've yet to find out the story, because I still keep in touch with Norman, because he lives in Switzerland.
Oh,
and
really?
I'd love to find out the story about what happened to, because one minute he was there for 2 weeks, and then suddenly disappeared.
Yeah.
And Roger turned up. So I don't know actually what happened. I think maybe it was something to do, I don't know, maybe the sexual thing, I don't know, who knows, you know. Nobody really seems to know.
I heard that he was. I think Alan Caddy told me he was too show busy.
Yes,
show
possibly.
busy, whatever that means.
Yeah.
And Joe couldn't. There was a little bit of personality conflict there.
Yeah, because I mean, he was a Liverpool lad anyway. So you know, I think possibly his Liverpool humour didn't go down too well with Joe.
Was he Liverpool or Southampton?
Yeah, no, Liverpool.
Yeah. So you did Love and Fury.
He was a scouser.
You did Love and Fury. Wasn't a success. But then you come on the scene. Norman leaves. You come on the scene, Roger. And then there's this Breeze and I.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right.
Yes.
The Breeze and I. You recorded the Breeze and I.
That's right. Yes.
Maybe you could fill us in on, because this is how we get into Telstar.
Well, yeah, we recorded the Breeze and I, and then I'd found out because we were touring at the time with the Fentones.
You had a bet with the Fentones. They did the Mexican, didn't they?
That's right. Yes. And I found out that they recorded the Breeze and I. They were going to release it. That thing. I phoned Joe up, and I said, Joe, you know the Breeze and I. The Fentones are recorded. They're going to release it by the end of the week and get it out quickly. And he said, oh, don't worry. I've written this thing because he'd been watching Telstar going up. The thing. He said, I want you to come back at the weekend because we were working in Yarmouth at the time. Yes. He said, I want you to come back. He said, no, I've got this song that I've written, which we're going to record, which was. Turned out to be Telstar. So that's really, so in some ways, the Fentones did us a favour.
Well, it seems like it, doesn't it? So you came back, you were working at Great Yarmouth, back in Billy Fury, and you came back on the Saturday night
after the show.
After the show, you get back to London or wherever it is, Wood Green.
Usually in my van.
Always in Roger's van, good old Roger. He was the saviour.
Was it A4 van?
No,
I never charged them either.
No, and the best bit.
I think the interest must be mounting up by now.
And the best bit of it, Roger lent me his van for some
reason. I lived
in
Walthamstow then.
He lived in Walthamstow, and I lived in.
So we used to come down the A12 and come through Walthamstow.
Yeah.
And Clem lived in.
I lived in Wood Green, didn't I?
Olympia.
Oh no, Olympia at that time. Yeah.
And so on this weekend, he dropped me off at my flat in Walthamstow, and I very kindly let him borrow the van. For the weekend, so he could take Anna out.
That's right, whatever, yeah.
And it was arranged that he would pick me up on the Monday afternoon to go back for the evening show in Great Yarmouth. He must have driven straight through Walthamstow, completely forgot me, and just left me, and I missed the first show.